Hey guys, Amy here. Welcome back to the channel. Now, let's be real. Most people think objection handling is all about saying the right thing at the right time, but trust me, it's not. It's all about regulating emotion, the prospects and your own. The objections, they usually aren't logical problems to fix, they're emotional flare-ups. There's fear, there's doubt, there's past trauma, there's identity conflicts, and if you get dysregulated alongside them when it happens, you can just say goodbye to the sale. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how to navigate objections like a pro. Not by pushing and forcing yourself through them, but by leading through them with calm, confident energy. We're going to be unpacking, first of all, why objections are actually emotional dysregulation, the real reason most closers lose deals, and it's not what you think, the 7 belief framework that makes objections almost disappear, and the exact objection handling flow that I use to turn resistance into revenue. And that is without pressure, without panic, and without pushing anyone into doing something that they don't want. So let's get right into it. Now, most people treat objections like a puzzle that needs to be solved. But objections, they're not puzzles. They're protective responses. When someone says, I need to think about it, or I don't have the money, what they're really expressing is internal discomfort. Their nervous system is basically flaring up and trying to keep them safe. They're scared of making the wrong decision. They might even be scared of being judged by their friends or family, or losing control, or repeating a past failure. It's just complete emotional dysregulation. It's not a genuine lack of interest in what you're selling. And if you don't recognize that, you're going to be trying to fix a problem that isn't actually the problem. And this is why objection handling is way less about what you say and more about how you hold the energy. If you get reactive, if you get pushy, or if you just panic and get all nervous in the moment that resistance shows up, you just amplify their fear. But if you stay calm, grounded, and present, you send a completely different signal. You tell the prospect that this is safe. You're not trying to manipulate them. You're just co-regulating with them. You're holding the space they don't know yet how to hold for themselves. And that's what creates real trust. And trust is what closes. Emotional dysregulation during a sales call usually sounds logical on the surface. They might say things like, I need to talk to my partner, or it's a big investment, or I've been burned before. But underneath that logic is just a fear of being wrong. So your job is to listen for the emotion behind the excuse. When you can understand what they're really feeling with empathy, you don't just dissolve the objection. You lead someone back into alignment with their own decision-making power. So if you want to become a world-class closer, stop trying to win the argument and start becoming the most grounded person in the room. Because when you're unshakable, the prospect essentially borrows your certainty. And that is why elite closers never sound salesy. They sound steady because they understand that objection handling is just nervous system work first and then language pattern work second. Now, most closers think that they lose deals because they didn't have the perfect objection rebuttal. They think, oh, if I just had the right script or if I just knew the right thing to say, I could have saved that deal. But I promise you that's almost never the real reason. The truth is most deals are lost because the closer got emotionally hijacked. The moment the prospect pushed back or expressed doubt, the closer flinched, they got nervous, their voice shifted, their posture changed, their energy just completely collapsed. And of course, the prospect felt that. Prospects are humans and humans are incredibly intuitive. They might not be trained in sales psychology, but they can feel when you start questioning yourself on the other end of the Zoom call. They can feel when you start grasping or pushing or getting that commission breath. And the second that happens, you've just completely destroyed their trust, because now the conversation is no longer about their decision. It's about your outcome. And then obviously that's when they're just going to pull away. So the real skill of objection handling is never in your script. It's in your emotional state. Can you stay grounded when someone says, I've been burnt before? Can you hold calm certainty when they tell you, this feels like a lot? Most people just try to convince their way through objections, but conviction doesn't come from logic, it comes from your presence. Your energy either makes the buyer feel more certain or it makes them feel more scared. So if you're wondering why you're not closing more, ask yourself, am I losing deals because I didn't know what to say or because I let the objection freak me out? When you can hold your center no matter what comes up, you stop chasing the yeses and you start becoming someone who buyers trust to lead them even through their fear. And here's the part that most people just completely overlook. When you focus on helping the prospect make the right decision for them, not for your KPIs, eyes, not for your ego, not for your outcome, you instantly take pressure off of yourself. And that shift in intention is everything, because now instead of gripping to the yeses, you're holding space for clarity for them. You're not chasing a result. You're just helping them guide a decision. And that naturally keeps you emotionally regulated, because your self-worth and your energy aren't then tied to the outcome anymore. You're not in this weird power struggle with the prospects. You're actually in a partnership. And when you release attachment to closing the deal and instead lean into service, you just naturally show up calmer, clearer, and more grounded. And ironically, that's what makes you more effective as well. People will naturally trust you more, they'll relax into your leadership, and they'll say yes, not because they were pressured or convinced, but because the decision actually felt aligned. And in my opinion, that is the mark of a true closer. By the way, if this is landing for you, if you're starting to see that closing is never about pressure, it's about presence and emotional leadership, then you will love what we're doing inside the Close Like a Girl School community. It's perfect if you are at the beginning of your journey in high ticket sales. Maybe you're transitioning out of a 9-to-5, maybe you've done a few mock calls and you're hungry to get good fast, but you don't want to do it alone and you don't want to learn from someone who just doesn't get you. Inside the community, you'll get access to my full training vault, which has everything that you need, from finding offers to elite sales skills. We have live coaching sessions twice every week. There's real job postings and a supportive network of women who are learning and growing and landing roles together. We go way deeper than surface level scripts, and we train you to become the most trusted person in the room. You can join today and you can actually get 7 days completely free to explore everything, binge the content, meet me on some calls just to make sure that it's definitely the right step for you. The link is in the top line of the description, and I'll see you inside. The thing is, most objections don't need to be handled at all, because most of them can be prevented. The reason so many sales calls end in "I need to think about it" or "I'm not sure if it's the right time" isn't because the prospect was never serious. It's because one or more of the core beliefs needed for them to buy was never built earlier in the call. And that is where the 7 belief framework changes everything. These 7 beliefs are the emotional foundation that a buyer needs to say yes with confidence and stay committed even after the call. If even one of them is missing, they're going to hesitate, they're going to stall, or they're going to ghost you. Not because they didn't want your product, but because something just felt off or didn't feel safe. And your job as a closer isn't just to pitch, it's to build belief slowly and intentionally. So here are the 7 beliefs. Number 1 is pain. I know I have a real problem that needs solving. Number 2 is doubt. I don't believe I can solve this on my own. Number 3 is cost. Staying stuck will cost me more than taking action. 4 is desire. I truly want the result and I want it now. 5 is money. This is worth the investment and I truly believe I'll get the ROI. Number 6 is support. The people in my life will back this decision. And 7 is I trust this solution and the process. If you build all 7, objections either don't come up at the end, or they're just super surface level and they're easy to move right through, because deep down the buyer already knows this is right for me. But if you skip over these or you rush through them during the discovery, you're going to leave belief gaps and objections will just naturally rush in to fill the space. So think of it this way: objections aren't random, they're the natural result of missing belief. So stop reacting to objections at the end of the call and start smartly preventing them by leading the conversation with emotional intelligence, structure, and clarity from the very beginning of the call. Now that you understand why objections show up, let's talk about how to move through them if they do show up. Because objection handling isn't about overpowering someone with logic, it's about guiding them back to clarity. And the way you do that is through my 6-step process that keeps the call grounded, builds emotional safety, and dissolves resistance without pressure. Step number 1 is pace and mirror. The first step is to honor the objection. Most closers just panic here. They interrupt, they jump into pitching, or they try to logic their way out. But when someone expresses resistance, their nervous system is activated. They need to feel seen before they can move. So you want to use language like, "That makes total sense," or "I really appreciate you being honest. You know, you're not the only one who's felt that." This lowers the tension and keeps the energy calm. Step number 2 is isolate the process. Next, you want to figure figure out what they're really uncertain about. Is it the investment? Is it the timing? Or is it a lack of belief in themselves or the process? You could say something like, aside from price, do you feel like this process would actually get you the result that you want? If they hesitate, that's your real objection, not the surface level one. Step number 3 is double tie down. This is where you create clarity. You're confirming, is this a should I or how do I conversation? You can try saying things like, so it sounds like you're not questioning if this is the right thing. You're just trying to figure out how to make it work. Is that fair? This moves them from avoidance to action orientating thinking and helps you lead with confidence. Step 4 is clarify the real concern. Now it's time to get to the root. You can use the 3 choice clause and say something like, usually when people feel hesitant, it's one of 3 things. They're unsure if the process will work. They're unsure about the coach or the company. They believe in it and it's just logistics. Which feels true for you? This helps them then verbalize what they're really feeling, which is everything. Because when they say it out loud, it becomes real, and what's real can then be resolved. Step 5 is collapse the resistance. Now that you know what's holding them back, it's time to dissolve it gently. This is where you might use these different reframes depending on what their objection is. There's an ROI reframe. For example, you told me your goal is 5K a month, so this isn't a 2K expense, it's actually a 60K a year decision. Or there's trauma reframes, which is, what if that last offer wasn't a mistake, but actually tuition for knowing what to say yes to now? And then there's the hero identity reframes. The version of you earning remotely and leading sales calls, she makes decisions through fear, not around it. The key with this is about leadership, not persuasion. You and the prospect are always on the same team. And then step number 6 is close or redirect. So once the resistance is resolved, move forward with commitment. You can say things like, you feel good about the process, or are you clear on next steps? So the only question is, how do you want to start? And depending on the person, you can offer pay in full, a split pay, a refundable deposit if they need to talk to their partner, for example, or you can schedule a follow-up with a clear intention, but the energy stays steady. You want to get some kind of answer. No grasping, no pressure, just calm clarity. And when you follow this flow, objections stop feeling uncomfortable and like friction, and they start becoming opportunities. Opportunities to lead, to listen, and to help somebody step into their next chapter with you as their guide. So objections, they're never the enemy. They're actually a mirror showing you exactly where belief is missing, where trust needs to be built, and where your leadership is most needed. So when you stop seeing objections as problems and start seeing them as opportunities, everything changes, and trust me, they stop freaking you out. You stop flinching, you start guiding, and you realize that being a great closer isn't about perfect phrasing. It's about emotional intelligence, belief-based leadership, and holding space when other people can't. So if you're ready to master this, not just in theory, but in real conversations and real live coaching, then make sure you come and join us inside Close Like a Girl School community. You'll get access to my full objection handling frameworks. We have high-level sales training, sales job hunting strategies, and a whole sisterhood of women who are building this skill set together. And you can start today, like I mentioned earlier, with that 7-day free trial, so it's totally risk-free for you. Just click the link in the description and step into the version of you who knows how to lead a room. They know how to handle any objection and close from certainty. And if this video helped you shift how you think about objections, make sure you hit like and subscribe and drop a comment letting me know your biggest takeaway or any questions that you have. I drop new videos twice every single week, and this is just the beginning. So I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.